Batman The Long Halloween Part 2, the brand new DC animated film, and it is the adaptation of the graphic novel of the same name. They split the book into 2 movies. We have Part 1 that came out last month, and now we're here with Part 2. And this movie is fantastic. The adaptation itself, like talking about Part 1 and Part 2, is absolutely well done. They approve on the source material. As I said with Part 1, one of the weakness of the graphic novel was anytime we were alone with the Falcones or any of the mob characters or any of the mafia characters, they came across as Godfather ripoffs. As in, it felt like the writer, Jeff Loeb, had only seen The Godfather, and he kind of just copy and paste those scenes. Well, this, they made them their own characters. I mean, Falcone, there's a scene where he's kind of reflecting on his life. He's reflecting on his choices, his regrets, the good and the bad, how the bad unseemingly shadowed the good that he may have done. And he's reflecting on his life. And the moment that scene happens, you immediately, like, there were a number of scenes, but that's the scene for me that felt like this is a character. This is a character. This is not a caricature of another version of another character from a movie. And I'm like, this is an improvement. This is a improvement of the source material. This is, of course, the continuation of the story from Part 1, which is the mystery of the holiday killer. Who's killing off the mob? Well, funny enough, this movie doesn't feel like... It feels like the main story is the side plot. And the main story is about him becoming Two-Face. And that journey, that inch of aggression and that inch of validity of him becoming the character that we know. And the thing about Harvey Dent and his story of him becoming Two-Face, it kind of has to, in a way, kind of be tragic, because it's kind of like Harvey Dent, who is maybe the only true high level of power people in Gotham, who's truly trying to be good, who's actually a good person. And then, you know, he gets split personality disorder, or he goes nuts and he gets half his face burned, and there's a level of tragedy in there, and you kind of feel that in this movie, even though, like, at the beginning, like in Part 1, he was losing his temper and he was getting frustrated, but it was out of, as I said, frustration. Falcone, the Falcone crime family were just getting stopped free for murder and drug deals and whatever else they were doing. But in this, he feels distance. He feels cold. He feels like the Harvey that we know from Part 1 is kind of gone the immediately we see him in Part 2. And that Two-Face is kind of knocking on the corner. And we kind of get that. We kind of get, he's cold, he's distant, but then he gets voices, and then he fully becomes into Two-Face. I'm trying not to hit spoilers here, because there's people out there who haven't read the book. But the way they did it was good, great. The animation looks good. I mean, you know what? I kind of prefer the animation Part 1 and Part 2. It feels like they were kind of saving their, saving their money a little bit. And save most of the budget from, and use most of the budget for Part 1. But, yeah, I mean, the voice acting is great. I mean, Jason Ackles crosses Batman. I kind of want him to be Batman more. Nia Wiwer, who, of course, passed away. She was a great actor who died last year. Her playing Catwoman, she's great as Catwoman. Josh Duhamel as Harvey Dent and his transformation as Two-Face, which actually, at the beginning, I was like, is that really him doing the Two-Face voice? him doing all the whole Judgment Day, like him doing that. That's what it is. It's him doing that voice, and I'm like, God damn, not a bad Two-Face voice, not a bad. Yeah, not bad. Because I thought there would be like, oh, we got Troy Baker's Joker. Should we just get him to just be Two-Face? Like that was my head thinking. That they probably just got him or something to do it. But the big complaint I had with this movie, I really enjoyed it. But the big complaint I have with this film is the stuff with Poison Ivy. Basically the first like 5-ish minutes where you had to kind of, the cliffhanger is, Bruce Wayne is mind controlled by Poison Ivy. But it kind of does come across as very whiplashy, very quick. Felt it didn't have that level of fluidity that the rest of the movie and the rest of the story had. And just felt like we just need to get this Poison Ivy thing out of the way so we can kind of focus on the Two-Face Harvey Dent stuff. But yeah, I mean, the villains were handled really well, and it's just a really good... I mean, DC animation, I always want, when it comes to these adaptations with these animated movies, I always just want to just sit down with someone who has never read a comic book in their life, have maybe only seen the live action stuff, and just binge watch these animated adaptations, the full adaptation stuff, like a New Frontier, like a Year One, like a Dark Knight Returns, or All-Star Superman, Killing Joke, and then we would skip the first 30 minutes. And now we can add to the Paradot with Long Halloween. And, next year they're going to release the combiner, where they're going to combine part 1 and part 2 into one film, which will be around 3 hours probably. So, more than 3 hours probably. So, yeah, this is a really good movie, and yeah, they did this book justice in improving on that source, on the source material, as I said.